The city faces the harbor, with rock cliffs at its back. It is a handsome but crowded place, full of glamour and high-rent real estate, full of everything except room to breathe. The track runs through the city, using up virtually all its roads. The sound of the cars caroms off the buildings and across the yachts. If you want a moment of peace here, you cannot find it. The track is even more crowded than the city. Lined with tall guardrails which come right to its edge, it is narrow. The cars are wide. If the driver wants a moment to relax, he will not find it here. He needs a few inches more space to maneuver. He will not find that either. But if you can thread the needle, and your drive leads you to the royal box, history will make room for you, because only a select few have won here at Monaco.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to one of the world's legendary playgrounds of the rich and famous, home to nearly half the Formula One drivers, Monte-Carlo and the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix, live here on Speed Vision. I'm Bob Varsha, along with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. Sam Posey is a spectator this weekend, probably watching from a yacht in the harbor. He and BMW are honoring American artist Frank Stella on his 65th birthday. This is our Acura pre-race show, and we'll begin with Peter Windsor with the latest news from the bustling Monaco paddock.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, well, the atmosphere down here is electric, and that's not only because of the charged atmosphere that is the Monaco Grand Prix, it's because everybody's talking about those electronic launch strategies and what's going to happen at the start. Of course, after Austria, 4 cars left on the grid, and it's very difficult here in the Monaco pit lane exit to practice starts. So the FIA have done an interesting thing. After each session on Thursday and Saturday, they allowed the drivers to queue up on the real starting grid and practice their launch control starts. It was quite fun, and several people thought, well, maybe we should make this a regular fixture. And it was interesting at one point to see Michael Schumacher waiting for a McLaren to pull up alongside him so he could actually match his takeaway speed alongside a Coulthard or a Hakkinen. Actually, McLaren didn't bite, so Michael had to do his on his own. But we spoke to several teams and drivers, asked them what they would be doing at the start, and we got some interesting responses.
We did quite a practice last week, so definitely you can at least get a place, I would think. And I think a lot of people are doubting about it because a lot of people are stalling and stuff, so it could be quite interesting.
We don't know really how it works our launch control because we're not doing any tests with that.
I think so we'll use it in here also because I think so we improve our system also in the testing, and it's working now even better than in the last race.
Well, to be honest, after what I've seen, after what happened in Austria, I prefer not using it because I don't want to take this risk second on the grid here in Monaco as there is not much room. So fortunately nothing happened in Austria, but I want to avoid anything happen here. So I will have a manual start here.
We've done so many different tests to try and create crazy scenarios that the only way I think we'll have a problem will be if the system itself fails, which is no different to an engine blowing up or a tyre going flat. You can't explain why sometimes these things happen.
Ferrari also in the news, announcing last week that Michael Schumacher's contract has been extended through to the end of 2004 and that they've taken up their option for 2002 on Rubens Barrichello. Rubens, of course, not a happy man after the Austrian Grand Prix, and we'll be looking at that situation, that team order situation, in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Peter. There's a look on board Heinz-Harald Frenzen's Jordan as he makes his way around to the starting grid. Get a good idea of what the drivers are faced with, from the darkness of the tunnel to the blazing sunshine, through the Nouvelle Chicane, on the harbor side, headed for the Tabac corner and the swimming pool. Now, coming up next, as Peter Windsor mentioned earlier, we'll follow up on that Ferrari controversy at the end of the Austrian Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, where Rubens Barrichello was ordered to let teammate Michael Schumacher by into second place. This week at Monaco, Rubens had reason to celebrate, and it wasn't just because he turned 29 on Thursday. As Peter mentioned, Rubens has signed with the Prancing Horse for another year.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Acura. Experience performance today at your local Acura dealer.
Welcome back to our Acura pre-race show. There you see the tires on Pedro de la Rosa's Jaguar. Tires very much the story this weekend in Monaco. There is the reigning Monaco champion, David Coulthard, coming in off a victory in Austria 2 weeks ago. There's been a lot of debate in the world sporting press over Ferrari's handling of the finish at that race. Peter Windsor is back now to answer the question, was Rubens Barrichello a victim or the problem?
Well, that's a very good question, Bob. A lot of us have been asking that and wondering why Rubens Barrichello did keep that second place for so long. Well, I didn't think Rubens was going to talk about it, but in the flush of renewing his contract with Ferrari and it being his birthday, he opened up.
Well, if you look back, I mean, I didn't understand when they first asked me, because it was something that I felt I had the tires prepared at the beginning of the race, for the beginning of the race, not beginning, but you know, just 10 laps into the race. And with the situation that the two Williams were in front, I was held up, and I thought at that time maybe if Michael had given me a chance of pass, I could pass maybe Montoya, and then I could open the gap I needed. You know, that's the view I had at the time, and I think a lot of people share that view with me. I mean, it's easy to say that, okay, Rubens, at the 3 laps before your pit stop, you should have opened a gap of 4 seconds. But by then, my front tire had 65 laps.
But why is it that all the discussion took place from the pit wall to you in the car? Why wasn't all that arranged beforehand? Why is it you don't know exactly what you have to do before a race?
Because it's not written on my contract that I have to let Michael by. But if it was written that I had to follow instructions, then I would agree. I mean, on his contract, he has to follow instructions as well. But at this present moment, he's a bit stronger inside the team. He's a bit stronger maybe in the racetrack. But I feel that there's more room for me to improve than for him. For me, Ferrari counts a lot on Michael, and I'm trying to prove that they're not wrong. But I'm there as well. I'm strong. I'm feeling strong, and I want them to keep me motivated on that. And they proved to me that if I was first and Michael second, that would never happen. If in the future I'm first and he's second, I'm not supposed to hear anything. I'm entitled to have an opinion, and that's why I think Ferrari is much stronger than it was 2 years ago.
It's difficult for any sportsman to give up on what his goal is. His goal is to win. But our sport is a team effort, and I'm just part of that team, and the contract and therefore the control is by the team owners. So you have to, you as a driver, sign a contract with that in mind, and you have to play by the rules. So there's the two issues. There's a professional issue, which is you do your job, and if you're told to move, you move. And there's just the pure sporting emotion of it, which is a real bummer when it happens.
Well, David, as we look at live pictures from the grid on the Avenue Princess Grace, let's put this issue to bed if we can. I know you have strong feelings about what happened in Austria.
Well, to start with, you know, he says that he felt he was quicker than Schumacher at the beginning of the race. The fact was he wasn't. Schumacher was being held up badly by Juan Montoya, and Barrichello, I thought, was driving in a pretty irresponsible fashion, trying to get himself alongside Michael Schumacher, and then he in turn would have been held up by Montoya as well. And as far as the team order thing, it's one of those things that is, as David Coulthard so rightly says, it's a bummer when it happens. But the fact is that there's a very tight battle at the head between Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard, and Harkonnen and Barrichello are, to all intents and purposes, out of the championship run at the moment. And it would be suicide for a team that spends $150 million a year to give away the championship on a sporting premise that maybe just this once will let the guy come second instead of third. Steve?
Well, I think very much that, and what the drivers have got to remember, and Coulthard's pragmatic view really summed it up, that it is a team effort, and if you're told to pull over, you pull over. I think team orders have always been a part of the sport. Absolutely. It certainly wasn't the first time it's happened, and it certainly ain't going to be the last.
Well, there's a good seat above the chapel at Saint-Devote, which will certainly be the scene of frenetic activity. The cars roll off, the lights going out for round 7 of the Formula One World Championship. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Preparations continue for round 7 of the Formula One World Championship, the Monaco Grand Prix. This is the Acura pre-race show. The start of round 7 of the season is getting closer. Right now, let's go back to Peter Windsor, who wants to talk about rock and roll.
Thanks, Bob. Well, I know you've always wanted this. Formula One meets heavy metal, or welcome to the world of ballast. This stuff is actually Densimed. It's mined out of a material in Russia, machined, of course, by the teams. It's about 18 times the density of water, twice the density of steel. And this is what the teams use to shift around in the floor of the car from circuit to circuit to balance the handling. In order to do that, of course, the car has to be well under the weight limit, and some teams like Ferrari, McLaren, we believe, are about 110 pounds under the weight limit. So this is what they use to tune the handling. It's one of the variables. Doesn't always work, but it's heavy, believe me. In the meantime, Bobby Rahal in charge at Jaguar. New aero package on the car here at Monaco this weekend. Let's catch up with him, see what he's got to say about it.
The biggest game was really in the efficiency, and this really isn't a circuit that demands much in the way of efficiency. It's just pure downforce that really matters. So you probably don't get quite the benefit that we would have had, say, at Austria or Barcelona or next race in Montreal. But as I say, in the end, it's still more downforce, and everything helps.
Especially around this place. Actually, when Peter Windsor said he wanted to talk about rock and roll, I thought he was going to talk about Steve Tyler singing the national anthem at the Indianapolis 500, hopefully later today. Steve?
I was just looking at the metal, the heavy metal that Peter was showing us there, and you know the weight that they're talking about now is 50 kilos. When we remember that the overall mass of the car is 600 kilos, that's a fair percentage of the amount of ballast that they're putting on the car. And what they can do with that, of course, is shift it forward and rearwards, up and down the longitudinal axle of the car, and try and dial out understeer and oversteer. It makes a considerable amount of difference, and of course that also shifts the center of gravity around the car as well, so it makes an enormous difference to the engineers, and of course they want it to be absolutely as heavy as possible.
Prince Renier and his family in the royal box. Look at Prince Renier and his children. The Grimaldi family has ruled this area for some 700 years. One of the truly special places in the world, Monaco, and we'll be back live.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Acura. Experience performance today at your local Acura dealer.
Welcome back to Monte-Carlo. There is David Coulthard, pole sitter for the upcoming Monte-Carlo Grand Prix. Right now, let's take a look at the racing circuit with the help of our Mercedes track map and Steve Matchett.
Well, we're looking at one of the most famous motor racing circuits in the world, certainly as far as Formula One motor racing is concerned. It's got the very unique tunnel section, which we've highlighted in blue down there to the bottom right of the screen. It's very tight, very weaving. 2.1 miles, 40 gear changes per lap, over 3,000 during the race. It's all about downforce. You've seen a lot of the teams putting on all sorts of little winglets to try and create some more downforce. Very, very difficult track. David, why don't you give us a tour around with French, and we'll have a look at a lap with a driver in the car.
Well, of course, you can see straight away from on board Heinz Harald here that there is absolutely no room for error on either side of the track. We're coming past the start-finish line up to Saint-Devote. One of the few corners on the left there where there's a little bit of runoff. Up Beau Rivage. Engines working very hard here in the heat because not a lot of airspeed. Well, not the same sort of airspeed as they're used to as it goes around the Massenet into the Casino Square, very famous here, down the hill past the tip-top pub on the left there into Mirabeau. Of course, when we used to race here, there was no guardrail at all. The curbs were still there. This is the Grand Hotel hairpin, was the Lowe's hairpin, and before that was the station. Down to the lowest point of the track now, right just level with the harbour there on the left, into the tunnel. Just listen to this. It's ironic that the fastest part of the track is as you exit the tunnel there, 180 miles an hour in the dark, out into the bright sunshine, across the Nouvelle chicane. There's always been a chicane there. Along the front here, yachts to the left, guardrail to the left and right. Swimming pool here, Bob's favourite corner, this left-right sweep, very fast. Absolutely threading the eye of a needle all the way around this track.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Subaru. Only Subaru puts full-time all-wheel drive on every car they make. Subaru, the beauty of all-wheel drive.
Welcome back to Monaco. Monte-Carlo is sending along highlights of the Monaco Grand Prix, now just completed. That was Jarno Trulli's departure in flames. This was Giancarlo Fisichella, who got away with hitting the wall that time, but did not the second time he hit the wall at Saint-Devote. He walked back while Jean Todt proudly commanded his troops as the Ferraris finished first and second. And Jean Alesi spinning his rear wheels in a crowd salute. Good performance for Alesi, doing the old donut. Well, maybe half a donut.
The first bit worked all right. The second bit didn't work too well.
Celebrating the first point of the season for the beleaguered Prost team. Owned, of course, by a proud four-time Monaco Grand Prix winner, as well as four-time world champion Alain Prost. Our podium finishers, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and Eddie Irvine, are headed for the interview room, but like all things at Monaco, it's not in the sort of convenient place that we have become accustomed to. It's over on the pier where the teams are paddocked. We anticipate they'll be there shortly. This was Michael Schumacher and teammate Rubens Barrichello. Eddie Irvine walks up to offer his congratulations. The media room is in that building at the bottom of your screen, overlooking the harbor. There's a beautiful view of the Rock. Prince Rainier's palace on the left, his gardens, and below the streets of Monte-Carlo, where the race takes place, and has on and off since 1929.
And it's welcome to the top three finishing drivers in the 2001 Monaco Grand Prix. It's Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and Eddie Irvine. Michael, many, many congratulations. Your fifth win here at the Great Circuit. And in some ways, perhaps your easiest once the McLaren failed to start again. What do you think of that?
I don't know. Obviously, they did have some kind of problem with one car at least. The other car started normal. I have no idea. Speak to them, and I don't want to really say anything to that. I think I should talk about my issue.
It seems that only the truly great win at Monaco many times. You've won 5 times. Other multiple winners have been Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost and Graham Hill. What's so special? What do you need to do around here to win?
Finish the race, first of all. It's quite important because here it's very easy to do mistakes. It's a very hard circuit. Although it was an easy drive, it is still hard to some degree because we do still reasonable fast lap times. I don't know what is so special. I certainly love that circuit. I have always found it easier to find my setup, which is very important again here, to throw around the corner, the car through the corners. But you have to be lucky to some degree as well.
Was the race easier this year with the traction control automatic gearboxes, or was it still as challenging as ever?
Pretty challenging. No, because you have the traction control, it means you go faster actually, and that means it's physically to some degree harder.
Michael, thank you. Rubens, you celebrated extending your Ferrari contact with a superb second place, but it looked very straightforward from outside. Was it for you?
Not at all. I mean, I had quite a lot of trouble since lap 9-10, because I started having cramp on my foot. Something happened to the pedals because they were vibrating quite a lot. And actually Ross became a physiotherapist because I was telling him, you know, if he knew something that I could do inside of the car, because it was really, really bad. It was a time I could hardly feel my right foot, and you know, he was saying drink water, and at one stage he was gone. So I was having quite a lot of problem inside of the car actually.
Rubens, thank you. Eddie, many congratulations to you. It's your first podium since leaving Ferrari. It's Jaguar's first podium ever. You must be delighted for yourself and the team.
Yeah, it's fantastic to get a podium, and especially here, you know. To have 2 Ferraris and a Jaguar on the podium in Monaco's really what Formula One's about in a way. We've got to see if we can consistently get up here, though. That's, you know, Monaco's a strange circuit, and we've been quick here all weekend. Let's hope we can carry that speed into Canada.
Not a totally uneventful race. I believe you hit the barrier. Were there no ill effects from that?
I touched the barrier at the swimming pool, but it was on the inside wheel, and I was pretty much sliding when I hit it, so it just made me slide a little bit more, but no ill effects at all.
Thank you, Eddie. Michael, we go to the completely different circuit now at Canada, which is all about high speed. You've got a 12-point lead in the championship. What's the programme between then and now for Ferrari?
We will be testing next week Monaco for 3 days. In order, I think it's the last test we can do before the Monaco race, if I'm right. It's not a particular test for Canada, obviously, but we know very well what we have to do for Canada. We prepared for that, and let's hope we can show again a 1-2.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well done. And now a word from Michael and Rubens in your own languages, starting with Michael.
Now, while the drivers address their fans in their native languages, we will step away. First podium for Jaguar, first point in a long time for Prost. We'll be back. Welcome back to Monaco. That was Michael Schumacher celebrating his 5th victory in this classic Grand Prix event. And here are the unofficial results. Schumacher's 48th career win. Rubens Barrichello said afterwards he suffered from cramping in his right or throttle foot in the second-place Ferrari. Eddie Irvine with Jaguar's first podium. And Jean Alesi with the first points for the Prost team since Jarno Trulli finished second in the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring in Germany back in 1999.
That 1 and 2 is the 51st of the Ferrari career. McLaren come next with 39 1-2s, and Williams have 30 1-2s. We had a lot of retirements this afternoon, including Heinz-Harald Frentzen. The Jordan team had a pretty miserable weekend of it one way or another, and Mika Haakkonen's year still right down in the bottom of that awful tank.
Here's a look at the Drivers' Championship. After 7 of the 17 rounds, Michael Schumacher now with a 12-point lead over David Coulthard, who was able to salvage a couple of points today.
Jack Villeneuve picks up some more points there. Montoya, of course, did not. Frentzen, nobody. Eddie Irvine, of course, picking up 4 there, the first 4 of the year for them. And John Alesi picking up that 1.
In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari gets full marks, 16 points, while McLaren benefits from 2 from David. So 76-44 is now the margin. And it appears that nearly all the teams have now scored points. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the Monaco Grand Prix post-race show here on Speed Vision. Let's take a look at our Audi storylines, beginning with David once again.
Well, the tyres didn't seem to be, play as much of a part as we thought they would, and Michelin did not have a very good day at all, except for, of course, Eddie Irvine.
Launch control system seemed to work very well, thankfully.
And Monaco's hazards were definitely a part of this race. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back. If there's anything that competes with the spectacle of a Formula One race, it is the sounds. It's time to pump up the volume. The best sounds of today's race. Enjoy.
Speed Vision's coverage of Formula One is sponsored by Audi.
Now, once again, the results of today's Monaco Grand Prix. Victory for Michael Schumacher, a 1-2 for Ferrari, first podium for Jaguar, followed by points for Jacques Villeneuve, David Coulthard, who started at the back, and Jean Alesi.
Jenson Button came in 7th there, not quite on the podium, but from 17th, I guess you'd take that. Verstappen had a mediocre run in the Arras, and Bernaldi, of course, who played such a big part in this race.
10 cars actually saw the checkered flag. These cars all failed to finish. Minardi, the only team yet to score a point in the 2001 season. Now let's check out our Toyota key move of the race with David.
Well, unfortunately, it was regrettably this. David Coulthard's car, the fire went out and he couldn't take part in the formation lap and had to go to the back. As you can see there, the anger and frustration had also held up Mika Hakkinen. And then, of course, the other key move, I guess, was this absolutely impeccable start at the beginning of what is notoriously a difficult race. Everybody got through Standervot and up the hill in perfect company. So, pretty good start, really, by everybody.
Great start to a great race and a great victory for that man, Michael Schumacher. And with that, we conclude our coverage of the Monaco Grand Prix. In 2 weeks, we will be in Montreal for the Canadian race. Friday practice, followed by live coverage of qualifying and the race. Sam Posey will be back with us, so join us then. For more Formula One information throughout the week and all of the racing news, log on to speedvision.com. I'm Bob Barsha. For David Hobbs, Steve Matchett, and Peter Windsor, we'll see you in 2 weeks from Canada.